Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Whatever, Whenever, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. I'm Robin.
And I am the Mentok, the prophet. I'm just the whenever part
Yes,
in this case.
I'm the whatever.
I told you it's sticking. It's
Yep,
gonna stick.
it's gonna stick eventually. All right.
So
So,
welcome back, everyone. Robin,
yeah.
what are we talking about?
Well, Shin Megami Tensei 5 dropped recently.
Yeah,
And
recently. What release date was November 15th?
November 15th, yes. And a lot of fun little game journalists seem to think that it's Persona, quote unquote, without the heart.
So, I have my opinions on this.
Oh, I do as well.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to lead in? Because
I think
I have a lot of history, just like we talked about Halo last episode.
yeah,
My experiences with this series go way back.
I think that you should start off.
Okay. So for those who don't know about Shin Megami Tensei, this series has been around like for a very long time. It's been um
It was on the original
I don't know.
NES, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like there was a couple like NES games, and then there was like even a game before that just called Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
And it covers very deep and dark topics, and it's very seeped in religion, creationism, etc. A lot of very profound topics that I enjoy in my video games. I'm surprised that this series wasn't more controversial over the last couple of decades, but um, it's a very popular series in Japan. Like there was some mild popularity. It wasn't hitting numbers like Dragon Quest, for instance, or Final Fantasy eventually. Um, but it has a very deep rooted history in books that were coming out at the time too. Just so everyone has some background on that. So this series has been around for a very long time. And of course, it had its fair share of spin-offs. There's a tiny one that I don't know people know about. It's called Persona. I think that it's pretty obscure. But, all jokes aside, the very first Persona game was basically like a spin-off of like a Shin Megami universe. And that has its own deep-rooted topics based in, psychology and religion as well.
Yeah.
So, whatever. We are now at the fifth Persona game before the fifth Shin Megami Tensei game, arguably. Because Shin Megami has had other like spin-offs that people have think it may as well have been a mainline.
Yeah.
But now I think it's getting some mainstream attention because of Persona 5. People are like, oh, this is the series that bred Persona. And just to put it in perspective, Persona 3 was known as Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3.
Yeah.
Like,
And
that was the original title of that.
yeah, and even Persona 4 was Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4 until the Golden re-release came out, where they added new content and they removed Shin Megami Tensei from the name because they thought it was too long. And then
Right.
Persona 5 came out and just didn't have it on the box art at all.
Yeah, they used to use the name as a marketing tactic to sell their spin-off, and
Yeah.
now Persona is pretty much more popular than its mother series. But
Yeah.
I have respect for both. I feel like, fans of this series always have to like take this stance like, well, I'm not about that anime tropey Persona stuff. Like I like my apocalypse dark rooted. I think there's a space for both.
Yeah, like I like
So
I like both of the series. I've mostly played Persona just because that's what I started with. That's what got me into it. Persona 3 was the
yeah,
first SMT game I ever played, and that
right.
sentence alone has pissed off some people listening, I'm sure. uh, but I have dabbled a little bit with the mainline SMT stuff as well. I have 4A, like SMT4 Apocalypse, which I didn't know was the sequel to SMT4.
It's kind of a what if scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess my first Shin Megami game technically was Persona 3.
Oh,
I played that when it first came out, and literally it was taking place, like the calendar was more or less taking place like right alongside the same year and time as me in high school. Like I'm playing as this high school kid while I'm in high school. And I think it was one of the first games that really like dug deep into relationships that I got to get my hands on, like where it was really like a Persona has this thing where you can socially interact with people in your day-to-day life, and that in turn makes you stronger when you have to go fight with your personas. So the stronger your ties with people, the better your ability to create these personas to help you out in battle and stuff like that. So it's in your best interest to do that side of the game. That part's not for everybody. I know a lot of people who love Shin Megami Tensei as a whole care more about dungeon crawling and creating the best party to battle and things like that. And that's kind of where the difference lies. I think that Persona has taken on this thing where, well, we care about not just battle, but also, relationships and social interactions. And and Shin Megami on the flip side is more about apocalyptic scenarios and where you align on the scale of like law and chaos. And I said the word chaos. Where you align in this, and I think that both have a place, because when it's been a while since the last Shin Megami game, I'm like, I'm having itching to be like a badass demi-human that can just summon demons and like determine the fate of the world.
yeah.
That's kind of the how every Shin Megami Tensei game goes.
Yeah.
And it puts gods like on a human level, like gods and demons, angels, etc., on this level of like they have power, but there's something that they lack that humans have to make humans powerful in this case too, and have a stake in this war between like gods and demons,
And
so it's a cool concept to me.
And I find SMT does a better job of like following biblical depictions of some characters like better than modern day religion does in some aspects. Like for example, Satan, who is different than Lucifer. He's a different character than Lucifer in the SMT series, because in the Bible they never state that Satan and Lucifer are the same person. It's just kind of been like assumed that they are. And
it's always just the devil.
Yeah, like the devil.
In that case, right?
Yeah. And with the case of Satan, he appears in like the second SMT game where he works like how he does in the Old Testament, because Satan is depicted entirely differently in both the New and the Old Testaments of the Bible. So like in SMT2, he's more like the Old Testament, where he's just like he's like an angel, but he's still like his whole thing is like I think he's like just questioning everything instead of like blindly following God like all the other angels do.
Right.
Yeah. And he appears again in 4, I think, where he's more like his New Testament version, where he's like a cartoon supervillain almost.
And in 4, are you talking Satan or Lucifer in this case?
Satan, not Lucifer, because they're two different characters. It might have been 3. I don't remember.
It's been so long, I can't even remember now.
But I know that like I think one of the things that I like most about the SMT series is that like you'd assume that like law and chaos, you'd assume that law is always the right way to go, but it's really not in some cases. In some cases, like it feels more like chaos is the moral choice, because like take for example SMT2 again, where like Lucifer is in that and he's different than Satan. And Lucifer is like Lucifer is kind of like, his whole shtick is that he just cares about humanity and he wants humans to succeed, and the only way for them to succeed is through chaos, because God wants to like take over the world and run everything in his image.
Right.
Yeah.
So, without getting too deep into like our religious beliefs, etc.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything that you said was leaning toward that way, because where I'm taking this next is it can get pretty deep. So
Yeah.
As you mentioned, like I think that the game series is very respectful of all religions.
It really is.
It's a very one-to-one depiction of how it is in these religious texts, and it's not just Judeo-Christian
No, you got like
gods.
You got like Thor and like
Shiva,
and like some yokai appear as well from like Japanese folklore.
Japanese. It's just cool to see like everybody on like equal footing.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, right?
Arguably.
I think that most of the time the God is like,
yeah, I think like
the Jewish/Christian God is like the one running things in that game.
Yeah, like
series, but
yeah, like he like that God. I think like in one of the games they even say outright that Yahweh, as they call him in the games, that he just struck down every other god and took his place as like the one true God or something.
Yeah, it's even crazy because like it is Yahweh in a sense, but they're also accurate in a way where you can't. We are incapable of saying his actual name.
Yeah, like if you say his actual name, it you get cursed or something, right?
Yeah. So like when the characters are saying it in game, like there's like a little record scratch.
Yeah.
So they'll spell it out, but there's like a record scratch when they say it. So it's pretty crazy like how in tune they are with that. And these accurate depiction of these gods and their struggles with one another and how they perceive humanity. And just by like tying in all that folklore that we've had like over the millennia of human existence, it's fascinating to me. I Persona does not take that route.
No.
And I think what Persona is good at is exploring the human psyche.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is based off of, psychology and actual, theories about the human mind and how we have a persona versus like a shadow, like a part of us that we don't want people to see and things like that. So I said, there's a place for both. I embrace all the games coming out. Persona without a heart, though, Shin Megami Tensei 5.
That's so dumb.
I think that this is my opinion. I honestly think that I preferred Shin Megami Tensei 4, but I think that 5 is a stellar game so far. I am highly invested. I'm glad that more people have access to this series and are showing interest in it. I love seeing people on Twitter complain about how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would never call Shin Megami Tensei unfair.
Yeah.
There's insta-kill moves. There's debuffs. Demons are going to gang up on you. A random battle could be your last. It's not easy.
If you're
and
like, my problem with people complaining about that stuff is that like all of that stuff is in Persona. Like the insta kill moves, they're still in Persona. The random battles, they're still there. The bullshit stuff, it's still there. It's like the only, like, if you're gonna complain about that being in SMT 5, you better complain about it being in Persona 5 as well, because it's still there.
Exactly.
And I think,
though I do think that Persona 5 is the easiest Persona up to this point.
Well, I can't really comment on that because I haven't personally played it myself, but I know roughly how the story goes. My friend is playing it for me, and I'm watching them stream it. So,
well, strictly battle-wise, there's so many mechanics baked into it now.
Yeah. Where
it's very hard to wipe, and if you do, you probably complain about it less versus like Shin Megami Tensei, where you're just running around and a new demon should just come here and just wipe your party. So
yeah.
But there's a lot of mechanics. Granted, they're a little bit jankier. But there's a lot of mechanics in Shin Megami Tensei 5 that you can use to defend yourself, and that's why I can't be mad. Like, I've wiped several times in that game so far, but I'm progressing pretty well. So I will not complain about those mechanics, but what I will complain about is that the hardware of the Switch holds that game back 100%.
That's what I've heard as well. I haven't gotten the chance to play it yet because I'm kind of focusing on getting gifts for Christmas instead of gifts for myself. But
right.
Yeah, but like I've heard that like the story is a little weak and the hardware holds back the potential of the game, which considering that GeForce NVIDIA leak that happened, it seems like Persona 5 might be coming to PC or at least PS4 in the future. So that's not.
Are you talking Shin Megami Tensei 5 or Persona 5?
Shin Megami Tensei 5, my bad.
Okay, yeah. I'm actually sad to hear that because I already spent my money on the Switch version.
Oh.
And I would love to see it run on PC because like it. I think that there just needs to be like a few lighting tweaks, but aside from that, like it's a beautiful game. The models look great. I love seeing all of these, angels and demons that I'm used to in like these high resolution models, and like they even have special spells where they have their own unique animations. Certain demons, right?
Yeah.
But to even have that, and put that in place, I like it. There's a lot of charm to it, and of course, it's not going to be Persona 5, but I do think it's a great game, and I honestly think that there's less complaints than there is praise, which is good. I'm glad to see that for this series.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Switch hardware stuff, like I would love to see it run at 60 frames per second, which people are doing on emulators already. But it's barely pushing 30 at some points when I'm playing on the Switch, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, and I've heard people complain that the story is like a weaker retread of other SMT game stories, which I guess that's kind of just Atlas's theme now. Is the 5th game in the series is going to be a retread of all the other game stories, because that's what Persona 5 was. They had like Shadow Selves from Persona 4. They had like rumors and all that stuff from Persona 2, and they had like sort of like the themes of like death that Persona 3 had. So I guess that's just kind of like a running theme, is the 5th game in the series is going to be a retread of other game stories or something.
Yeah. So while we're on that topic, I agree with you.
Yeah.
When I played Persona 5 Vanilla, I was like, okay, this is a lot of the same, but everything else is perfect in my opinion. The animations, the speed of the battle, like I love quick turn-based battles. I think that we don't have time these days for the old school type of turn-based that used to be popular. Because now I go back to turn-based PlayStation games and I'm like, man, this shit needs a turbo button. Even Pokemon, I'm like, yo, I wish there's a turbo button on this Pokemon game. But I think Persona 5 perfected that. But plot-wise, I think it retreaded a lot of things that previous Persona games explored, especially 4. I think they were trying to have lightning strike in the same spot twice.
Yeah.
Which, technically it did, right? It's the highest selling Persona game out there.
Yeah.
But I think my opinion on Persona 5, like all the critiques that I had, they fixed in Royal.
Really?
Which I think is a stellar game. They added more character interactions because I thought that some of the downtime, like the vacation times, was a little bit dull in comparison to 4 and 3. I always loved the school trips and where you kind of leave the routine for a bit to go on vacation and do certain things. Royal added a bunch of stuff, especially like if you pick that significant other that you want to be with. In most Persona games, once you start fully dating someone, it doesn't mean shit after that.
Yeah.
It's like they barely acknowledge that you're dating. I'm like, okay, so we want to be toxic and keep this a secret from the rest of the group.
Yeah.
Understood.
Well, I mean,
but
I mean, like, in 3, you don't even have a choice as to whether or not you want to date them. You just automatically date them, which...
You just do,
Yeah,
right?
which is funny, because in 3, they have, like, mechanics to punish you for dating multiple girls at once, but they don't give you the option to choose whether or not you want to date them.
The key is you have to max them out before you get to that critical point with the others.
Yeah.
So if you're fully dating,
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the others, the relationship with the others.
Which I think is...
But if you're, like, talking to them at the same time, then it does.
Yeah, I just think it's funny that Atlas decided to make it canon that the protagonist of Persona 3 is just a smooth player.
Which, ironically, I think the Persona 4 protagonist is probably smoother, because I think in that game you can date everybody with no consequences except maybe... Well, I think Golden changed that.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, a Valentine's Day scene where everyone will tell you that you're a trash human being. Yeah. But in the original game, like, there was no consequences to that. Persona 5, though, Royal, right?
Yeah.
I had critiques. I'm like, man, you guys had this brand new game, like, and, you know, you have these relationships and there's, like, literally nothing to do with this girl. But in Royal, they have, like, maybe about 3 or 4, like, personal dates with the people that you pick, which I think is great. Like, I think you have a Christmas one, a Valentine's Day one, your birthday, something like that, or, like, end of the year. Like, there's just, like, a ton of moments that I was satisfied with. I'm like, okay, great. I feel like I'm actually in a relationship with this person, and I'm glad that they, you know, stepped forward and did something with that.
Yeah. And, like, I think, like, you know, going back to sort of SMT5, I think it is, like, a little bit apples to oranges to compare the series. I know they're, like, the same franchise, but, you know, one of them is more like interacting with friends and, like, socials, like, links and all that stuff and, like, psychology. Well, the other is more like you... have the fate of the world in your hands, and you must decide whether or not to, like, side with Lucifer or side with God, or say fuck you to both and go the neutral route.
Right, which is always my favorite in my opinion. I think there's always more to get out of it, and you end up fighting a ton more people whenever you pick that route.
Yeah.
So if you want to just give everybody the middle finger, it's going to be boss rush the game, especially Apocalypse. That was like boss rush the game. I felt so badass after a while. I'm just like, bro, I'm fighting everybody. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of people... So the thing is, you bring up the friendship part and social interactions and things like that, and it's that slice of life part. People say, oh, no, it's a dating sim plus dungeon crawler. And I think dating sim is selling it short, because the dating part of Persona has never really been focused on too much.
It's never been like a huge part. It's kind of like there, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, like, the mechanics are similar to a dating sim, but, like, you are having very realistic relationships with other people, and even, like, adults. It's a variety of people. I remember in Persona 3 it was a terminally ill individual. Like, another one was a very old couple. Another one was a young schoolgirl, like, elementary schoolgirl.
Yeah.
Like, there's a variety of people that you can interact with, and there's some very touching moments. And I think selling it short by calling it a dating sim,
and I mean,
has sold the series short.
And one of my favorite, like, social interactions, just because you mentioned it, is Tanaka, the shady businessman, who's in...
Yes.
Yeah, he's in Persona 3, and then he cameos in 4 and 5 as well.
Right.
But, yeah, I just like seeing, like, I like SMT and I like Persona, but I like them for different reasons. I like Persona because I get to have interesting, like, stories like Tanaka or like Yumi from Persona 4, and I get to see these people's problems and I get to, like, feel for them and stuff. I like SMT because of all the insane bullshit with the gods and all that. I love the stupid like not like entirely stupid, but I love like the whole like like the battle between angels and demons and stuff. I think that's like the aspect that draws me in. I like them for different reasons, so I feel like comparing them is almost apples to oranges, not quite because they're the same franchise, but it's like it's getting there, you know?
Right. So the reason I brought the friendships up, and I'll come back to Shin Megami in a sec, is because a lot of Shin Megami fans look at Persona and they think, man, well, it's very anime tropey, but you can't avoid that if you're dealing with like social interactions with a Japanese role playing game. And I think that's why it comes across that way to certain people. You can't avoid the anime tropes if you're dealing with social interactions. Like it's going to look like a slice of life at parts.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot more to that. Especially with P5 Royal, there's like a different ending, and the main villain there is like one of the most sympathetic people I've seen in a video game. I think it's great. But leading back to Shin Megami Tensei in general, yeah, it's like I think it's one of the first games where like a situation happens and you can't go back to the way things were. Things are going to change one way or another. There's no like happy ending. There's going to be a struggle one way or another. And that's what I enjoyed about it. It's like even in game, just like fathoming that I can't go back to status quo. It makes you think further. It's like, well, is that really the best option? But you feel for this high school student or whoever, like you can't go back to that normal calm life. Shit's changed for you forever. And you get to see like you just peel the layer back and it's just this conflict between these gods and demons and angels. And it's just funny to see that, and not funny, but just bonkers, as you said. It's like an insane amalgamation of just all these cultures coming together for this event that always happens in Tokyo, by the way, for whatever reason.
Yeah, for some reason it's just always Tokyo.
like maybe whatever, stick with what you know best, but come on, developers, like let's see what's going on in the rest of the world. You mean to tell me God and Lucifer are like battling in Tokyo constantly? Come on.
Why not like I don't know, Seattle?
Yeah, let's pick Seattle.
I want to
let them deal with it.
I want to see what crazy demon or god or whatever is like. What are they doing with the fucking space needle? What's up with that?
Right. It would take a little bit more research, I guess, but
yeah.
Shin Megami always takes place in Japan, even the spin-offs. But I feel that they could diversify a little bit more too. They always focus on Tokyo as the city.
Yeah.
I think that there's other large places.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like
in Japan, they can focus on.
I mean, like Persona 5 was actually going to be that. It was going to be like a trip around the world, but then the earthquake from 2012 happened, and
yeah,
they decided that what they really needed to do was focus on the country itself, so that way they could make a story about, being more like at home and united and stuff.
Right. I think they went back to the drawing board like quite a few times with Persona 5.
Yeah, that game was like
before it became what it is.
That game was like in development hell for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like honestly, you reached this peak with Persona 4. You're like, man, what do we do now? And it was in between gens. Like it did come out for PlayStation 3, but I think by the time they were ready to release, like you needed a PS4 version and it needed to be good.
Yeah.
And optimized for that system. So, yeah, I can see why they kind of had to go back to the drawing board a few times.
Yeah.
But this Switch exclusive, Shin Megami Tensei 5, I don't know why it runs the way that it does, but I don't know when Nintendo's gonna
I just think
get their act together on this.
I just think the Switch is like hard to develop for, because like it's like essentially game companies, when they work on the Switch, they have to think like they're developing for the PlayStation 3 and not for the PlayStation 5,
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
just the specs are so different. So
to this day, I wonder how like Breath of the Wild managed to do what it did.
I think it's just
There-
because it was being developed at the same time the Switch was being developed, so they were able to like
right.
that team was able to like understand the nitty gritty of the hardware and what they could and couldn't pull off with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's in-house, so I guess you understand like the Switch specs totally.
Yeah.
The thing is, there is some slowdown in Breath of the Wild, so don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a perfectly running system game for the system. It has its hiccups, but I think that it does it pretty well and effectively, considering it's like a huge open world game. So I'm sure that they managed to put a lot of like genius decisions in there as they're developing it. They were also developing it for the Wii U, so interestingly enough, that's how I first played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hey, if you guys are interested in a darker RPG plot, something that explores things that you're not used to, I highly recommend Shin Megami Tensei. Or if you want to start off with something a little bit more user friendly, Persona 5's out there. I'm pretty sure you can get it for a decent price. Excuse me, for a decent price.
Yeah.
Great series if you're into that stuff. So don't hesitate to check it out if you got the funds.
Yeah. And now for something completely different.
Let's hear it.
Animal Crossing New Horizons for the Nintendo Switch.
Oh shit.
Holy
Oh my god.
They had a 2.0 update. Why am I talking like this?
Sounds like you're trying to sell it to me.
It does. It's not like
for only $59.99, because I know it's still $59.99.
Oh yeah, no, it's still full price. Yes, for only $59.99. Get it? I'm not a used car salesman.
So, I have opinions about this game. I think it's a. Let me start by saying I think it's a great game.
Yeah.
Definitely fills a niche that you don't find in a lot of other games. And I'm gonna plug a video really quickly on my Mentok channel. Check out Animal Crossing New Horizons is disappointing. I put out something like that, and it's not a hit piece at all, because a lot of my opinions today I'm drawing pretty much from that.
Yeah.
I think that what we can compare apples to apples to,
Yeah.
like coming full circle with our last conversation, is Animal Crossing New Leaf and New Horizons.
Yeah.
And I think that is the main struggle for me to really appreciate New Horizons. I played New Leaf when it came out back in the day, and I think that for me, social interactions are a little bit more important in Animal Crossing than for others. But I know there are people out there like me, that like a living, breathing village. And that's the point of Animal Crossing to me. I think Nintendo with New Horizons took a different approach to this, and it's about customization and making that island your own, and doing cute things and collecting furniture and do-it-yourself stuff, which kind of strayed away from what I liked about Animal Crossing. Now, no one else has to like that, but I think that's why I'm a little bit more distant from this title.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll kick it over to you, Robin. Like I want to hear your opinion.
I think that I haven't had the chance to play the new Happy Home Paradise DLC, but I think the 2.0 update does add back some more of those interaction elements with the villagers that was sorely lacking. Like you can they can just come over to your house, or they'll invite you to their house or something, and they have unique dialogue for different interactions and stuff, but it does still kind of at a certain point get to repeating themselves a little bit, which is a problem that it was in the previous games, because I played New Leaf as well. It was in New Leaf as well, but it wasn't it didn't feel like it happened as fast or as frequent,
Yeah. And so with this release, if you watch the video I mentioned, a lot of the complaints that I had in that video, they addressed with this 2.0. I even teased the idea, or I was entertaining the idea of a season 2, which it was a year after the release of Animal Crossing where I came out with that video.
Yeah.
And by that point, I expected some type of direct or some type of season 2, something like that. And I kind of foresaw that they were going to do that. you know, and then a few months went by and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're not deciding to just drop the game. Like, I need Nintendo to take a stance on that and just let us know if there's anything else coming out, or are we just going to have like, you know, an event or a furniture thing here and there.
Yeah,
Mario crossover, you know, all that stuff. I just wanted to hear it from them. Like, we're not making anything else for Animal Crossing.
yeah.
And then finally they did this. But I think with this update, they basically just used it to catch up to New Leaf, and they didn't bring anything new to the table. And I don't know if you disagree with that, but I feel like with that they caught up to New Leaf in content.
I don't think like they were trying to really catch up to New Leaf necessarily, because I think that like this game is its own thing, and like even still like there's still like a lot of elements that like are just straight up gone from New Horizons, and I think they said that like 2.0 is going to be the last real update that they do, which kind of sucks, but like
yeah, they did take that stance,
yeah.
and I'm glad that they did that, so we don't have like these expectations anymore.
Yeah, but like I mean, like Copper and Booker, the two like police dogs, they're not in the game at all anymore, which I know for a couple people that sucks. Like Rossetti and his brother Don, they're in the game. They can appear at the roost, the roost and stuff, but the reset center is completely gone, which makes sense because of auto saves being a thing. So
yeah,
yeah,
I like what they did with Rossetti.
yeah, he's like
I remember it was controversy when the game first released. They're like, yeah, he's only making a cameo because we have no purpose for him now. But
yeah,
people are like, well, we don't care. We want to see him.
yeah. Well, I mean,
because it makes sense.
yeah. Well, I think like he is technically in the game. He talks about having like a new job, and like if you like request a cleanup or like a helicopter on your island, the person on the other end will sometimes say something about how kids these days have auto saves and stuff, which implies that the person on the other end is Rossetti, but they
Yeah,
never
I remember
yeah,
that.
they never outright say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I barely use that service too.
I don't think I've ever used it.
So it's just one of those things that if you're not playing around with the mechanics, you're not gonna find that little cameo or Easter egg.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but yeah, with this update, we can actually see him, right?
yeah, we can actually see him. He'll show up at the roost and drink coffee, and you can obviously scan him in with your amiibo there as well. And yeah, they don't have the observatory either. I thought that they were gonna like do Celeste's observatory on the other side, because before the museum was nice and symmetrical, but now the roost is there and it's not symmetrical at all, and it bothers me. Yeah.
So I guess like, you know, outside the content, I'm trying to like. So it's weird, right? Because the whole premise is that Tom Nook comes up with this idea of this like deserted vacation package, or like deserted island package, where you fly out there and, you know, you kind of are out there to chill and relax and get away from things or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like I can't wrap my head around them all being there for the rest of their lives or whatever. You know, like technically, like there's going to be another Animal Crossing game, right? But
Yeah.
you just established this life on some deserted island, and
Well, like
you know, like Isabel, who is the assistant to the mayor of the previous game in New Leaf, decides, okay, well, I'm gonna go do that too, and then she's stuck there forever. I thought that like a season 2 or a 2.0 release would have had like a feature where you can take a boat or a plane to like a city environment, and be able to at least like be on that strip that was on every New Leaf island,
yeah.
and just kind of walk that with, you know, Club LOL and stuff like that. I think that would have been nice to just kind of escape the island and just like go back to the city for a bit, or you know, the New Leaf town, and you don't have to expose what the town looks like. You could have just had that one marketplace area. You know, I thought that would have been cool.
Well, I mean, they kind of have that in Happy Home Paradise, where like the more houses you build, the more like places they'll add to like the thing. Like you can add a school and like a restaurant and stuff, and there'll be like characters that show up there. Like I know Nat was missing, and he shows up at the school to teach kids about bugs and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna purchase Happy Home Paradise. That's what it's called?
Yeah, Paradise. Yeah.
Okay, Happy Home Paradise. I don't think I'm gonna invest because I think it's more of like those mechanics that I'm not really into that I mentioned, like as far as like designing and
Yeah. I mean,
making your home the best looking home out there, and
well,
I support those gaming mechanics
yeah.
totally.
I mean, like
But
I'm really interested in like the designing aspect of things because I like to just create things and stuff. So I might get it at some point, or someone might get it for me at some point. But it's not like high on my priority list of things that I like need to get. You know.
right,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool stuff coming out anyway, so
Yeah.
I think my new streaming obsession right now is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. It's been a while since I played Gen 4.
Yeah, I haven't like played the new Pokemon games either, but I want to. I know that I'm cautiously optimistic about these games because my first ever Pokemon game was Platinum, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of elements of Platinum in this one, so
Yeah,
little worried.
you're not getting
Yeah,
that.
little.
I thought Platinum was quite the in between game for Gen 4. I think that was like a perfect re-release. It did a lot of things that we weren't used to at Pokemon at the time. Like it was like a mini sequel in a sense, and it had like these enhanced clothes and environments that were just different from the original. It was cool.
Yeah,
It was cool to see.
yeah,
I think with Brilliant Diamond, like as I'm replaying it, they're saying it's more or less a 1-to-1. But I don't really care too much because I've not played Diamond since like 2007, 2006, whenever it was released. So
yeah.
I think it was 2007. But yeah, I have not touched that
Yeah,
game
they
like
just-
since then. So
I'm-
it's good to kind of just get back into that.
Yeah, I'm just upset that they don't have the fucking game corner in the games. I mean,
They took that out?
yeah, because of
Ugh.
gambling.
Yeah.
We can, we can have loot boxes that have like all these flashy lights and gambly effects, and the game companies put in research into how gambling works. That way they can shove them in there. We can put that in an E10, E for everyone game for kids. And like aggressive.
Have the ability to take actual money from your
and
parents' credit
yeah,
card.
have kids spend like take their kids or like their parents' credit cards and like just spend on that because they don't know how that stuff works, and have them develop gambling addictions at an early age. But God forbid we have a game corner in Pokemon where you can like not use real money to play slot machines to get like TM or a Pokemon or whatever out of it. God forbid.
What was in the game corner in the very first in Gen 1?
Was
it a slot machine?
Yeah, in Gen 1 it was slot machines. In Gen 2 it was the same slot machines, but they also added, I think, Voltorb Flip. And then Gen 3 they just went all out with Gen 3, honestly. They had like the like slot machines, and then they had some like made up card game that I think was meant to resemble blackjack, and they had straight up roulette wheels, which fuck
I remember they
roulette.
enhanced it
Fuck
greatly
roulette.
by Gen 3.
Yeah. And then by 4
So-
they scaled back, and 4 was just the slots again.
So I grew up on Gen 1
Yeah.
and 2.
Yeah.
And I don't consider myself a gambling addict by any means. But when I ever feel the itch to take a gamble on something, I would never look back at Pokemon and say that was the roots of that.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, we romanticize winning the lottery, and these days like loot boxes or going to Las Vegas and dropping tons of money, like that is just in the culture. Um, and if anything, I feel like that's what's gonna draw like a kid to want to gamble. It's like, most likely your parents are buying lottery tickets and things like that. You see these huge billboards as you're driving around, like, hey, this is the jackpot. And like, even as a kid, I remember looking at them like, man, the things that I could do with that kind of money, you
Yeah, I
know?
know exactly what you mean. I remember thinking the same thing. I'd like fantasize about winning the lottery. I never really fantasized
Right.
about winning the slot machine unless I was playing Pokemon and at the game corner. Like,
Right. Literally, like the game corner, I was like, okay, hopefully I get this jackpot so I can get this Porygon next door.
yeah,
Like, that's literally it. Like,
yeah. And like when I was in Platinum, like the prizes are kind of mediocre, so I didn't really care for the prizes in that game. I was just more like, how good of a streak can I get on the Clefairy minigame? Because the way that the slot machines work in uh, Platinum, maybe Diamond Pearl, I don't remember, but at least Platinum is that like they have this like thing where you get like mediocre rewards, but then you can have bonus rounds with where like a Clefairy will pop out of a Pokeball on the bottom screen, and
yeah.
if you get like a 777 or all three galactic symbols, they're worth the same amount. I think.
Yeah, that was also in Diamond and Pearl. And I remember like I loved the slots in that game because um it just felt a lot more interactive than the original. It was just a basic like, slot machine in the original games. So when it got there, I'm just like, oh, I got all these bonuses, and it was cool. It was exciting, and I think the prizes were like a TM. I remember like I was trying to get flamethrower at one point
Yeah.
for one of my Pokemon,
Yeah, it
because
was.
I felt I needed that.
Yeah, it was like TMs and then like some battle items like a silk scarf and stuff.
Right. I guess like also isn't shinies technically like gambling? Like
I
isn't
mean,
like
in a
you know
in a
if
way, I don't. I wouldn't call it a stretch. I'd call that a stretch, honestly.
okay. I just think like looking at the odds of stuff. Yeah, I guess you're right. I
Yeah,
don't wanna like put that label on everything.
yeah,
But there's always odds for everything, and like, I think if they're worried about keeping kids into this like having this gambling type of addiction to things, I think even like shinies, like, okay, you have a 1 out of 4,000 chance you're gonna get this Pokemon.
yeah. Well, I guess
It's like, oh, I'll take those odds.
I
Like,
guess the difference there is that you're not like spending real money, fake or otherwise, to get a shiny. Unless, well, there's the daycare breeding, but that's more because
yeah,
you're having your Pokemon stay there. Yeah, and you only have to like pay to like remove a Pokemon because it was at a daycare. So
right.
yeah. Which, by the way, can we just talk about how like that's a little bit fucked up? Like, can you imagine if there was a daycare and you like left your kids there, and if you didn't have enough money to take your kid back, they'd just keep your kid, and they legally had the right to do it.
Like, come back when you have more money. But
But that's
I just sold my house. This is all I have. And I guess you're not getting your kids
yeah.
then. Best of luck.
Yep.
I actually like some of the implications, like as I was playing Brilliant Diamond on stream the other day. Um, it was just funny that like I'm just thinking that every time you win a Pokemon battle, you're getting money. You're just like robbing these people blind. Um, it's not. It's like just very it's brushed over.
Yeah.
It's just like you gained
I mean,
this amount of Poké dollars from this. So it's not like no one ever complains like, man, I barely have enough money to give you for this battle. Um, it's just kind of like, implied that that's what you get for winning
yeah.
each battle. Like you just bet money on it,
Yeah.
which
I mean,
is a cockfight, right?
yeah. I guess so. Yeah. Uh, what are you gonna call PETA?
Oh no, I'm not gonna snitch on Nintendo at all. No.
uh, yeah. But like, I don't know. I just think, I mean, when it comes to like that aspect of it, I mean, you're not really robbing anyone blind unless you're in Sun and Moon and you go to the Aether Foundation and you're battling all the employees and you have a Persian. Is that dog barking? Jesus Christ. You have like a Persian use what's it called? Payday while it holds while it holds an amulet coin, and then you get like $1 million from just the.
Are you serious?
From just the grunt? You can look it up. You can get like a whole lot of money against the Aether Foundation employees because like they're like highly paid people, right? Because they work at like this big corporation. So you fight them, you get a Persian to use Payday a few times, and then you have an amulet coin on top of that. It's like the easiest and quickest way to make a whole lot of money in Sun and Moon.
So I guess that was an unintentional payout then.
Yeah.
Like intentional design choice on that payout.
Maybe, yeah.
I think I think Sun and Moon is the generation I was least invested in, and not for any reasons that Sun and Moon brought to the table or anything like that. I just think at that time, like, I just wasn't in it. I guess because, my peers weren't into it as much as, like, Gen 4 and of course everyone with nostalgia glasses loves Gen 1 and 2. So it was just harder for me to, like, really feel invested when Sun and Moon came out.
Yeah. Well, see, like, when Sun and Moon came out, that was what like, got me back into Pokemon. Because, like, X and Y, I hate those games so much.
So I know this, but if you want to tell everybody why.
Okay, yeah. I know that I've rambled on this to you, like, multiple times in your streams and stuff. So I know that you're sick of hearing me say this. But for those of you who don't...
Nah, you're good.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Pokemon X and Y are the games that were like the first games to bring Pokemon into 3D, and they were released in 2013 on the 3DS, and I hate them because they added the least amount of content. They seemed like they're like the easiest games in the series by far, at least in my opinion. I haven't played BDSP yet, so I wouldn't know. Mainline games, at least. They're the easiest mainline games. And they are so boring, and the story is so nonsensical that I couldn't, like, grasp it at all. I didn't understand what Team Flare's motive was. Lysander being the villain felt way too obvious, and it just came out of nowhere. And the gym leaders don't do anything at all to help stop the evil team, compared to the previous games where every gym leader shows up to, like, kick ass at the end of Black and White. And it just, on top of that, it added the least amount of Pokemon to the series. Even less than Generation 2, which only added like 70, I think. And X and Y added like maybe 50 or something. And a lot of those designs are just so forgettable. There's only like 3 lines from Gen 5, or like Gen 6, I mean, that I can really remember off the top of my head. And I was so disappointed in X and Y, I almost quit playing Pokemon games forever. Like, I was like so close to just saying, you know what, I'm done with the series is dead. And I took a chance on Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I loved those games, and I love the story. They did everything, like, they added all these new Pokemon that I love, and it kind of reinvigorated my love for the series. So yeah.
So I can't even disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
But I look back at X and Y fondly, and I think this is like a hot take for Pokemon fans out there. But I think, like, honestly, it was what I was going through at the time.
Yeah.
That I just really didn't care. Like, I just think I just needed Pokemon because it was a rough period in my life at that point.
Yeah.
And just being able to just go around and just, like, collect Pokemon and build that relationship with Pokemon again, and be able to customize my trainer, and I think just anything, like, positive around that time just had a great effect on me.
Yeah.
If I replayed X and Y tomorrow, I'd probably be like, this is trash. But
yeah, and like
I like there were aspects about X and Y that I liked. I felt that it looked it looked pretty gorgeous for like a 3DS game. It was a jump to 3D. Even though I felt it was rough around the edges at times. I like the idea of going to like a clothing store and buying clothes, and there was like a few really banger tracks in there that I enjoyed. I used to put on repeat all the time. Pokeball Factory. That's a dope song.
Yeah.
And like, but yeah, outside of that, like I concede to your points.
Yeah,
like
and
I agree with most of that.
And like, look, because I've said this to people before, and they've gotten defensive and blown up in my face. So I just want to say, for the record, if you like SNY, good for you. You found all of the good points of those games that I just don't see. So if you think that SNY are the best games in the series, and that I'm an asshole and I'm full of shit for shitting on your favorite games in the series, good on you. I disagree with you, but good for you.
And I think that's what the internet needs to learn these days. It's okay to disagree with people.
Yeah.
I can sit here and tell Robin like X and Y is my favorite generation. It's not, but
yeah. No.
We're not. It's not going to be a source of conflict because
I mean, like,
he has his opinions and I have mine. I just think like on social media we just get so entranced and try to convince people that something they like is trash or vice versa.
Yeah, like I mean, I feel that a lot with like I mean it's definitely lessened over the year with how like it's kind of gained a little bit of fan base and stuff. But like with Y2K, I'm a big fan of that game, and like for the longest time when I was like active on Twitter, it felt like I was just like every day was just people trying to convince me the game was bad when they don't know anything about what they're talking about and they have never played it.
It's like,
and I'm like,
you just post something about a game you like, and it's like, why do you have an opinion on trash?
Yeah,
you know, like, relax, people. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, and I mean, like, look, even if it is bad, that doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. That doesn't mean it's not fun. Like, I fully acknowledge that the '80s Super Mario Brothers movie is not a good movie, and that it's very bad. But I still love it because it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
And I think that's important to the gaming industry too. Like, not every game's gonna be a banger.
Yeah.
But there needs to be an audience, I think, outside of all these critically acclaimed games. Like, not every game's gonna be The Last of Us Part 2 and Persona 5 and all these things that we see at the Game Awards, because like it's good that those games get recognition for what they bring to the table. But if everyone just only invested in the games that we are told are good, you wouldn't have sleeper hits. Like, for example, I think Danganronpa, when it first came out, I remember it had like zero tension whatsoever. And I was into like visual novels like that, like, you know, Ace Attorney and things. Here we are like 10 years later. I think the first game dropped 10 years ago. Here we are 10 years later, and people will not shut up about that series. And rightfully so, because it's very well written. There's a great character development, and it's an overall like great mystery visual novel. But I don't think that, you know, without people actually just going out there and trying these things out, we would have it be the sleeper hit that it is today.
Yeah, I think
that's a good point, you know, Robin. Like, you know,
I just want to say that for every like critically acclaimed game like The Last of Us 2, there's going to be a Postal 2, where you know, like, for those of you who don't know, Postal 2 is one of like the crudest games ever made. Like, you think GTA 5 is like, oh, bad or whatever. Postal 2 lets you like pee on random people and just
it's literally based off the expression going postal.
Yeah, it's literally based on the expression going postal, where like you can do a pacifist run of Postal 2 if you want. You can like harass everyone until they sign your petition, but it's a lot easier to like pee on them and threaten them with guns to sign your petition instead, you know?
So I think, hey, even games like that I think are important to just the gaming community overall. Like, you know, not all those games have to like be critically acclaimed or in the news or like, but I respect sleeper hits, because you know, like I always I think Sonic is different, but I want to use this as an example. Like, I remember when Sonic Unleashed came out, people could not stop bitching about it. They were just like, oh my god, these daytime stages like look super nice, and like it was just a bunch of like 6s and 7s, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
They're like, but this werehog thing is just so it's so boring, it's so awful, it's so this. And when I played through it, like I understood like the werehog stages dragged on a little bit, but it felt fluid to me. Like there weren't too many issues that I had with the PS3 version. Like there was a lot of slowdown because it couldn't handle a lot of those graphical environments. But now like everybody's Sonic Unleashed is the greatest thing. Like it's one of the classics. Like people are looking back like it's this amazing game that like really slapped when it first came out. Even now, like it made the news because Sega released an Xbox version where you can play it at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
There's like, literally fans out there buying Xbox Series X's to play that game in 60 frames.
I just think it's funny how like every 10 years the gaming community tries to go full revisionist history on a video game.
Right.
Like I mean it's straight up like Sonic Adventure. It's usually a Sonic game, honestly. Sonic Adventure.
Yo, like I think we need Sonic Adventure for a separate episode.
Yeah.
But
okay. Yeah. We'll talk about Sonic Adventure later. But
yeah.
Yeah. But like Sonic Unleashed is like a good example because like that game came out and everyone hated it and they said, "Oh, Sonic is dead. 3D Sonic sucks. I hate the Sonic series. Sega hasn't put in anything good out since the 90s." And then fast forward 10 years later, Sonic Unleashed was my childhood. Sonic Unleashed is one of the best Sonic games ever made. The 3D Sonic is awesome. It's like all this other stuff. It's like make up your mind.
I mean, granted, maybe it's kids at the time who are grown up now.
Maybe
like it's like 8-year-olds who are 18 now.
Yeah, that could be a factor as well. I won't deny that, but
but at the same time, revisionist history. Yeah. We can't pretend that you guys didn't bash this game back in the day, like especially like reviewing outlets and things like that.
Yeah, especially.
And we'll get. I think that we're lacking a Sonic conversation in these episodes, but we'll get into it. But like, even the reviewing outlets will sit there like, oh, Sonic has not been able to get good footing on 3D. Like
there's the classic
game that comes out,
the classic IGN video where the guy is just like, I think it's safe to say Sonic has never been good, and then the other guy's like, yep, that's right.
But that's why I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Yeah. And just move on with life. Yeah. Like, I hate that chip on the shoulder that, people can't look at each game like as a separate game.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I think that Sega has like gold on their hands with that character because it doesn't matter what you put out. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to die. And he's like respected culturally. I think he's even more popular now than he was like 10 years ago. Yeah. With this new generation like of kids now.
Well, I mean, so you can argue how well respected he is, but even if he's like only joked about ironically and seen as a joke in the gaming community, he's still like popular. He's still people still like the character, even if they like it ironically in air quotes. It's still. You still like the character. I don't care if you like it ironically. You're still a Sonic fan.
And the movie's only helping that too. Yeah. So I'm glad to see them branch out to other media and actually have bangers in like TV series that are actually funny and good and well written and like a good video game movie that kind of like took the stigma away from video game movies. Even though people are coming out with trash like Mortal Kombat and Uncharted.
Well, I don't know about the Mortal Kombat movie because I think my dad liked that, but
I mean, it's fine. It's like a cheap popcorn movie, but like, it's popcorn entertainment, but it was not good.
Okay,
for me at least. It had its moments though.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see that they're branching out into other media and making him like a brand. It's like going outside the video game realm now, which is a smart move. Yeah. Speaking
of video game movies, what are your thoughts on that Resident Evil 2 movie that they're making?
It's out?
What?
That movie's out.
It's out?
Yeah, the fact that you didn't know that is a testament to how I feel about that movie.
Okay.
So it's basically like I didn't know it came out. I was just browsing like our movies the other day on Reddit, and people were just like, "Yeah, this was interesting." So I have yet to see it. I want to watch it and give my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, we can.
I think that we needed like a Resident Evil movie that's true to form.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the ones with Mila are done now.
Yeah.
But we'll see what this brought to the table. I'm not too sure. Like I thought it was a good idea, but I heard they were just cramming together the events of the first game and the second all in one movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Which I think was a bad decision.
Yeah, maybe like we can watch it in our own time, and then we can make an episode where we just talk about that later on.
Yeah, that'd be good because I do love Resident Evil. I love where the series is going these days. I think it had like a couple of hiccups, but I think they're on the right track now, and it'd be interesting to see where it's going.
Yeah.
So we can, have an episode strictly Sonic based, an episode strictly Resident Evil based, because I have a lot to say about both of those series.
Yeah, that can be our next recording sessions then. All right. That's cool.
All right, well, Robin, take us home then.
All right. That's been the third episode of Whatever, Whenever. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. All 0 of you as of the time of recording, because we haven't even published a single episode yet.
Please watch.
Yeah, please watch. Hopefully there's some of you out there. Hopefully it's not just my dad and no one else.
Hey, even still, hi, Robin's dad.
Yeah, hi, Dad. But yeah, that's been today's episode. I've been, and I still am, Robin.
And I've always been the Mentok.
And
well, I don't know. Arguably, maybe not.
Well,
but
for as long as I've known you, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm the whenever part of this.
I'm the whatever, and we will see you all later.
Peace.